So here's a genuine question. How can you be pro-life and pro-guns? Like apparently the death penalty is not Christian. Even Pope Leo said it.
Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life.
He said it plainly. You can't defend life in the womb whilst also simultaneously destroying life outside of it. Faith without compassion isn't Christianity, it's a contradiction. And now those same contradictions are crossing oceans.
We gather around protesting the end of sex selective abortions. I am just mesmerized at the absence of the feminists. Can I get a yell from any feminists here? Yeah, I didn't think so. Your selective advocacy, the hypocrisy of that is absolutely outrageous. Feminists will say we care about protecting women unless it's protecting a woman from a scalpel from being dismembered in somebody else's womb.
This week, pro-lifers flew from America into Australia, rallying outside New South Wales Parliament, preaching pro-life, while praising men like Charlie Kirk as martyrs.
Defending people, then honoring a martyr, a brother in Christ.
Charlie Kirk was the same man who defended the death penalty and saying that we should have executions made very public.
Yeah, that's how you should. By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals.
Expensive.
It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised, like brought to you by Coca-Cola. And no, I'm not kidding. By the way, I would totally tune in to see some get their head chopped off. And you know what? I want to watch that execution. That'll make my day better. I want to see him on a public block and get him be publicly executed.
I have to ask the question, do you worship Christ or Charlie Kirk? Like, who's right here? Do you follow the Pope or...
Some have chosen to deride the increasingly evident signs of climate change.
Chris Bowen says we must hit net zero by 2050. I don't think this guy has even looked back at history. The climate has been changing for thousands of years, long before utes, planes, or whatever appliances they think is killing the planet.
Like, one of the things I find fascinating about Christianity is that people will cherry pick the parts that suit their narrative. Like in this instance, the Pope clearly states that climate change is real. And then the opposite happens with this Australian conservative who claims that it is not real. Like, how can you be pro-life and yet be pro-guns?
Guns kill more children in the US than anything else, and yet people call this freedom. But let's talk about that freedom for a minute. America doesn't even rank in the top 10 countries in the world in terms of freedom. Like the country I'm from ranks number 4, and yet you think America is the land of the free. But let me ask you this simple question. Are your children free from mass shootings? And let's go further into that freedom. I'll tell you what children in America are free from. Kinder Surprises. Now, what is that? Well, America banned chocolate eggs before they banned guns, claiming that somehow a chocolate egg is more harmful to your children than bullets. So is America really free if they're banning chocolate? It's interesting when, apparently it's for the mothers and the kids to make parenting easier, right? Just ban the chocolate so you don't have to worry about some kid dying from a toy with inside a Kinder Surprise chocolate. When if the logic behind banning a chocolate egg is to save the children, why can't they ban bullets? And the thing that I find the most interesting is there are a lot of people that claim that America is based on Christian values. And if that was really true, what about Isaiah 2:4? Like, they shall beat their swords into plowshares and learn war no more. That is like the opposite of America. Like, Jesus didn't say, blessed are 15, like AR-15, get it? He said, love thy neighbor. He also said those who live by the sword die by the sword. So, I thought Christians were meant to live by faith, not fear.
So it's an interesting concept how the Bible always teaches to have faith in others, that to hope for a better world or hope for a better future, that people will be good inherently, they've been given the Spirit of Christ and all this kind of stuff, when people are so afraid that they feel the need to bear arms. That's the exact opposite, of faith is doubt, fear, and then banning chocolate. Maybe you can defend yourself with your gun, right? You never know when those toys in a chocolate's just going to get you. Imagine being afraid of a toy, so much so that you need to keep guns in your life.
But the day that Americans could give up guns is probably the day I would genuinely consider them to be Christian. At least the Christians that live in America, for that matter. And the Bible's pretty clear about the importance of life and how it's sacred. Genesis says we are made in the image of God. And in Psalms it says, you knit me together in my mother's womb. And this is why many Christian denominations are anti-abortion. But the same Bible that defends life also condemns vengeance and violence. So it's interesting that people cherry pick certain scriptures to defend guns or women and children. And so it's an interesting question that Pope Leo raises here, is the death penalty and the hypocrisy behind it. Like, how can you call yourself pro-life while cheering for public execution. How can you call yourself pro-life when you also support the #1 killer of children in America? In Genesis 9:6, God allows capital punishment for murderers, but that was under the Old Covenant, a tribal justice system. The New Testament redefines it. In Romans 12:19 says, "Do not take revenge, for vengeance belongs to the Lord." And Jesus says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." The reality is, in many scriptures and many prophets have said that no one is without sin. Therefore, no one should be executing the death penalty. Pope Francis, before he passed away, updated the church's stance on this in 2018, declaring the death penalty inadmissible. Because how can anyone claim to be pro-life or defend life while endorsing state killing? So what the Catholic Church is trying to portray here is that being pro-life means opposing all forms of unnecessary death. So let's be real. If your faith relies on firepower, it's not faith, it's fear. Like, Jesus never told anyone to arm up. In fact, he told Peter to put down his sword, the exact opposite. And when Peter cut off the man's ear, Christ actually went a step further and healed his ear. Jesus instructed his followers to trust God, not violence. In Timothy, it reads, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control." And of course, in Matthew, "Blessed are the peacemakers." But somehow, modern Christianity has flipped this. Now, faith means paranoia, Islamophobia,
I am proud to be an Islamophobe, and I thank you for being my Islamophobic friend.
your neighbor's beliefs. These are non-Christian acts. Isaiah prophesied about the return of Christ, saying, "He shall judge among the nations and rebuke many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more." And when Jesus came, he commanded something even more radical, to love your enemies. So tell me, how can anyone claim to follow Christ while clinging to hate, division, or war? Pope Leo went as far as saying it's not pro-life to support the inhuman treatment of immigrants. Because when you read the stories in the Bible, to be a disciple of Christ is to welcome the person who is hungry into your home. Because I've seen many videos of people claiming like even heaven has a strict immigration policy. But if this was true, then why did God give everyone free agency? But the question still remains, can you still truly be pro-life if you support the inhuman treatment of immigrants?
Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. So they're very complex issues. I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that there be greater respect for one another and that we search together both as human beings in that case.
Now, if this video made you think a little more and start to question things a little bit, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Pope Leo said. Because in my opinion, I think he's right to call out the hypocrisy within Christianity.